Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching News 9 and this is the AI Report. Now, every weekend on the AI Report, we bring you the top stories and the top trends that defined artificial intelligence and their future progress. Well, this week has been an action-packed week. So first up, let's tell you all that happened in the world of AI as well as in the world of robotics, especially thanks to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Take a look.
Washington gave permission to Nvidia to sell its second most powerful AI chip, the H200, to China, but with conditions. The chips will be reviewed for their AI capabilities before they're shipped off, and Beijing can't get more than half of the total amount of chips sold to US customers. However, there was a further twist from China. Sources said to Reuters Beijing told customs agents the H200 isn't permitted to enter China. They added Chinese authorities told domestic tech companies they weren't to buy the chips unless necessary. Samsung forecast profits to jump threefold to record highs over the latest quarter. It scored big as tight supply and AI-driven demand drove up prices for memory chips. The South Korean giant projected operating profit of almost $14 billion for the October to December period. The number was well beyond analyst estimates. Taiwan's TSMC also cashed in on the AI boom. It said its fourth quarter revenue flew up more than a fifth from a year earlier. Reuters calculations found the number was over $33 billion, beating forecasts. The world's largest contract chip maker counts Nvidia and Apple among its customers. And AI continued to take center stage at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Tech big hitters like Nvidia were in town, and so were growing firms that showed off a range of new offerings. Glide debuted the world's first smart hair clipper, the AI Stylist. It said it brings GPS-level guidance to DIY haircuts. Catherine Asperger is from Glide.
It uses a band that wraps around your head, the clippers themselves, and a mobile app to create a perfect men's haircut in less than 15 minutes.
And Lepro's Army is positioning itself as an AI soulmate. It's marketed as a way to ease loneliness among flexible workers. Army is a physical desk companion with a curved OLED display that tracks your gaze to feel present.
Alright, so a lot unveiled at that CES, from virtual haircuts to soulmates, all in the realm of artificial intelligence. But moving to the hard part of AI is the story of semiconductors that also unfolded in the later part of the week. That's right. Now, Taiwan's chip-making giant TSMC on Thursday reported a 35% jump in fourth quarter profit, beating forecasts and hitting a new record high. Now, the world's leading producer of advanced AI chips signaled plans to expand manufacturing capacity in the United States this year. Take a look.
TSMC smashed profit forecasts in the fourth quarter as the AI boom continued. The world's main producer of advanced AI chips said Thursday profits jumped 35% to $16 billion during the October to December period. It further predicted strong growth this year and said it was working on building more US manufacturing capacity. The Taiwanese firm, which counts Nvidia and Apple as major customers, announced plans last year to invest $100 billion in the US. That was on top of $65 billion pledged for 3 plants in the state of Arizona. TSMC said more land had been bought in the state. The New York Times has also reported the Trump administration is close to a trade deal with Taiwan. It aims to reduce its tariff rate to 15%, and Washington wants TSMC to commit to building at least 5 more facilities in Arizona. Looking ahead, TSMC believes first quarter revenue could surge as much as 40% from a year earlier to $35.8 billion. The AI boom has helped TSMC outshine its rivals, and its Taipei-listed shares jumped 44% last year. The firm's stock is up around 9% so far this year.
Alright, so those are the big developments this week in the work of AI in the world of semiconductors, and of course highlights from the CES in Las Vegas. With that, let's slip into a very short break, but coming up on the other side, a new trend in the making, and that trend is potentially about agentic AI flooding the internship scene this year. Well, we'll get you an industry HR perspective on where agentic AI is headed from here. Now, if you're a fan of Matrix, the cult film of 1999, where you had pretty much a scenario of agents taking on the world, well, that is something that could potentially be playing out in the real world too in the year 2026. Now, I'm not talking about black-coated, suited men with a tie holding revolvers. I'm talking about agentic artificial intelligence. That's right, the agentic AI field is moving from experimental prototypes to production-ready autonomous systems. Industry analysts project the market will surge from as little as $7.8 billion today to as high as $52 billion by the year 2030, while Gartner, a global research and advisory firm, predicts that 40% of enterprise applications will embed AI agents by the end of 2026, up from less than 5% in 2025. Now, 2026 is likely to be an inflection point when early architectural decisions will determine which organizations successfully scale agentic systems and which organizations will likely get stuck in a perpetual pilot purgatory. Now, single all-purpose agents are being replaced by orchestrated teams of specialized agents. Gartner reported a staggering 1,500% surge in multi-agent systems inquiries from Q1 of 2024 to Q2 of 2025, signaling a shift in how systems are designed. Now, a lot happening in the world of agentic AI. Simply put, agentic AI are pretty much real-world agents, bots, which are able to communicate with customers and with inquiry generators in real time, offering them meaningful input, meaningful advice, and all that with very, very limited human supervising skills required. There's another trend which is making news, and that is that potentially hiring could take a backseat as companies embed these virtual AI agents into everything from customer service to grievance redressal. In fact, there are also estimations which suggest that overall the job scene could be disrupted simply because companies will look worldwide at getting AI and AI agents to pretty much do all the heavy lifting. And this potentially could first up lead to a surge of interns. And these interns, mind you, will not be humans, but will indeed be AI agents. And AI agents are going to learn on the job, perfect their skills on the job, and eventually start doing potentially the work of human beings. Well, let's put this entire trend into context, and joining us is somebody very, very special who's going to give us a lot of clarity on how the world of agentic AI is likely to disrupt the world of employment, human employment as we know it now. Rituparna Chakravarti, thank you so much for your time and for being here. I wish you a happy new year. First up, tell me, 2026 for employees, and remember, it's an interesting year because the batch of 2026, the class of 2026 is pretty much the first graduating class which right from their inception into graduation, into college, have lived in the world of artificial intelligence, have perfected their skills of generative AI, and now potentially are looking at agentic AI, for some reason disrupting their own employment possibilities, especially as far as internship goes. So how worried should the class of 2026 be with the rise of agentic AI?
I honestly, first and foremost, great to be back on this show. It's been a while. Happy New Year. I don't think we should start the conversation by airing concerns and worries because, believe it or not, this new breed of talent who are coming out, they are so well marinated in terms of maximizing their daily lives, their work, their pretty much everything that they do, leveraging AI. I think they are already way ahead of the curve. They already know what the options are, how they can leverage their skills. So from that perspective, I'm actually particularly not so worried about this young breed. Of course, having said that, my concerns lie more on the other brackets of people who've been probably around 10, 15, 20 years in the workspace.
Now you're beginning to scare me, Rituparna. This is when people like me begin to get scared. So you said you don't want to start off on a negative tone, and here you are. So tell us, what should people like me be worried about?
No, we definitely, I wouldn't say worry, as long as we accept the reality that our world will be flooded by agentic AIs in every realm. Um, Phone calls, customer service, talking to contact centers, marketing, um, recruitment, hiring. What else can I say? I mean, different robotic functions.
Making presentations, writing even emails,
Everything.
responding to
You will
emails. I think
have.
the entire white collar industry that we know of is
Yes.
likely to get agentic in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, the only difference between all that and agentic is that here are these mini bots essentially who are there in your laptops, in your phones, in different realms, who are actually working on your behalf, making life easier for you in many ways and for employers. So that's a reality. Just that the nature of jobs, that's why I have definitely undergone a huge shift because I am actually spending a lot of time talking to people in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm looking at new age founders, even in India. I think it's an area of opportunity rather than it being treated like a threat. It has opened different avenues through which you will see our lives getting remarkably changed. And my core message to the youth is that please embed yourself further into this world and figure out how you can add value. And you definitely can. I mean,
Right.
the world needs two kinds of people right now going forward. They need AI operators and agentic AI operators, and it needs creators leveraging AI. And if you are not either one of the two, that's when the problem is.
Right.
And that's where my concern of the older or generations like ours is that if we are not understanding it, we'll get left out.
Right.
The new generation, honestly, is already equipped. They're using it very actively. So I see them settling in either of these buckets. The really intelligent, smart kids who love engineering, who love evangelizing different ways to use this are going to move to the creator bucket. And the rest, of course, will be extremely efficient AI agentic operators to
Right.
believe that these agents, once you have set them up, they can do a job predictably, they'll self-learn, they'll self-heal and get better and better, but you still need people who manage that ecosystem and knows how to get the best out of it. So
Right.
that's how I would feel these youngsters can add value because they are very clued in, they are very used to using these
Right. So
tools.
from a pure play HR organizational structure perspective, break it down for me, Rituparna, because there was this Economist podcast I was listening to, which pretty much told us, and two versions of that. One podcast that released last year, it said that the organization shape is changing. We've grown up in the typical pyramid shape organization, few people on top, a large work pool in the middle, and of course, managers, middle management right in the middle, halfway between too few people and too many people. Now, last year, the analysis by The Economist was that perhaps organization shapes are now going to, with the advent of AI, change to the diamond shape, which means, again, very few people on top, thanks to AI, very few people at the bottom, and a large layer in between of managers who are really looking at the output of what these very few people using generative AI are producing, making it a diamond shape. Now, the latest 2026 version of the same Economist podcast tells us that there's another shape in the making, and that is the hourglass shape, where because of AI, because of the class of 2026 having skilled themselves in the use of artificial intelligence, are making a pitch to employers that you need a lot like us because you don't understand how much AI can do. But thanks to agentic AI, you need very few managers in the middle. So you need agentic AI potentially as managers, but a large set of people creating generative AI related content at the bottom. And because of AI spread into multiple dimensions, you'll need a lot of managers on top to manage the various vertical lines of business. So do you agree with that? At one level, I heard you saying that you will need managers who will be managing this new crop of guys, but it seems that perhaps agents are going to be able to do that job.
Without resorting to commenting on any body shaping, body shaping.
No, I meant the typical hourglass, the sand hourglass.
I know. But I'm just saying, without notwithstanding that, first and foremost, I do agree that there are many traditional job roles are likely to be redundant at different levels. I would not say that every job at every level is secured, whether it's at the top, middle layer, bottom layer. But I do believe that I am of that opinion, or I belong to that clan which believes that to maximize gains from all these beautiful tools that are being architected right now, you do need extremely competent managers, administrators, orchestrators, whichever way you call it. So I think that remains relevant. Specifically in HR, yes, there are high-risk situations that are emerging across each job role and at each level. For example, resume screening specialist, you don't need them. Agents can do it. Transactional recruiters, you don't need them. L1 HR service desk kind of stuff, you don't need them. The agentic AIs can do a far informed job, and they're omnipresent. They're always there.
Right.
Any kind of manual payroll benefit processes, honestly, you probably don't need them anymore. I think some of the high growth HR roles, which I also think we need to discuss about, is that where disruption is possible is workforce strategy leads, organizational redesign specialist, AI governance professionals. Of course, AI governance is an emerging probably opportunity. People who are transformation leaders within the organizations, people who are cultural and engagement architects. I think this is how you will see the balancing will come in. Some people will be at risk, and there are some emerging roles that we are likely to see. I honestly don't think that HR headcount per se is going to disappear, because a lot of talk on that. But I definitely see that people will continue or be forced and compelled to move up the value chain. Transactional jobs will be completely redundant at all levels.
Right. So one final question to you. Do you think, in your sort of, educated guess, if I can call it that at this moment, it is going to be the agile startups, the smaller companies, which will be able to intake this entire new batch of AI agents, if I can call it a batch, so to speak, and really be able to transform their setups, their businesses, their go-to-market far more efficiently than larger companies which still have those very, very solid organization structures and management layers in place, and hence innovation stroke disruption is going to be harder for them to really do as far as their industries and their businesses go?
Absolutely. Organizations who are still not hard-coded, organizations who are nimble, agile, early stage, where org structures are also not so hard-coded, for sure are the ones that are going to be able to adapt much sooner. While organizations which have been around for very long, very, very well-defined org structures, hierarchies, levels, they'll take longer. But having said that, it's essentially a time debate only. Everyone will get there at some point.
Right.
Its question is who's going to get there sooner than the others.
Right. So who's going to get there sooner, and who's going to get out potentially of the job sooner as well? Well, let's leave it at that. Rituparna Chakravarti, always a pleasure having you here with us on Newsline, and thank you so very much for those very valuable insights. You're watching the AI Report right here on News9, and a big story that made waves on social media this entire week was the fact that Elon Musk's AI tool Grok will now finally no longer be able to edit photos of real people to show them in revealing clothing in jurisdictions where it is illegal after, remember, the widespread concern over sexualized AI deepfakes. Now, this is what a new announcement on X reads. The company says that it has implemented technological measures to prevent the Grok account from allowing the editing of images of real people in revealing clothing. Now, the UK government said it was a vindication for it calling on X to control Grok, while regulator Ofcom says it was a welcome development, but added its investigation into whether the platform had broken UK laws remains ongoing. Remember, it's not just the UK, even India had raised serious objections and had sent a notice to X, headed by Elon Musk, to ensure that Grok is not used for generating sexually explicit AI images. Now, campaigners and victims say the change has come too late to undo the harm it has already caused. So a lot going on in the world of deep fakes, and a lot going on in the world of how deep fakes are used to generate sexually explicit images, especially of women. Now, X's change was, remember, announced hours after California's top prosecutor said that the state was probing the spread of sexualized AI deepfakes, including of children generated by the AI model. So let's try and put all of this into perspective. And joining me this morning is my colleague and executive editor of News9, Amit Ranjan Kumar, who is here with us. Amit, thank you so much for your time. A lot happened. In fact, we saw pretty much, all of the last maybe 3 weeks or so that anytime anybody would be able to upload an image on X and ask Grok, by tagging Grok, to either undress that image or to add bikinis to that image. And mind you, that wasn't just limited to women or children. Of course, that was the biggest concern. But even leaders like Elon Musk himself seen sporting bikinis, even Donald Trump seen sporting bikinis, and this had to end somewhere. In your opinion, do you think this has finally ended, or do you think there are going to be, given the fact that Grok has been able to demonstrate how easily something like this can be done in the world of deepfakes, do you think this could potentially now give rise to other platforms and similar deepfakes could continue to get generated?
See, Kartik, thank you, Kartik, again. Deepfakes can be created on any platform, not just Grok. So you can do it on ChatGPT, you can do it on Midjourney, you can do it. The idea is when you put that on X is where the problem begins. So because Grok and X, I believe, is owned by the same person.
Yeah.
That's where the jurisdiction has to come into play,
right.
Because people who are using X have a direct access to Grok.
Right.
So they are creating an image on Grok, and that gets posted onto X. And that is where the problem happens, because then you are maligning the personality of whichever person that you're using. It is a big industry, creating deepfakes. Once you put it on the social media is where the problem is happening. And that, I believe, it is an embargo because X is the most used social media, but there are others.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to say is that perhaps this would not come as a definitive end to deepfakes, but there are restrictions on potentially, one of the biggest platforms, which of late has been responsible through its Grok, the XAI, the Grok engine and the Grok chatbot for releasing and immediately posting those sexually explicit images. Well, okay, so we are far from solving the deepfake problem, but Amit, the question really is more around regulation. Now, at the end of the day, there was a conversation once upon a time that how much regulation is too much regulation and how much regulation is too little regulation to balance innovation from social harm. Now, where things stand right now at the start of 2026, do you think there is a need for a worldwide regulation to come into effect where one is able to very clearly prevent AI engines of all sorts to create content which is against the overall interest of its global users?
Two parts to this. Initially, even Elon Musk, being the maverick that he is, had defended this, saying that it will curb free speech. Now, how far does free speech go is a matter of where you're standing. Elon Musk stands somewhere else, everybody else stands somewhere else. So initially he had defended it. Now there are embargoes and guardrails even on X. So you can do certain things unless you subscribe to certain packages and all that,
right.
Or you take a higher package, all those things. So those guardrails have been put on place. Now, if you are saying the whole world, there is this VPN which people go to when there is an embargo.
Network. Right.
Nobody in Pakistan can see content in India. Everybody in Pakistan is seeing it via VPN.
Right.
Okay. So how can you embargo VPN? If you can do that, and right now UK has done it, certain states in America have done it. So even in America, it's not a blanket ban.
Right.
Every state has its own. The whole world coming together, maybe under the UN or whatever, that's a different story. But then there are rogue nations also. And why would everybody not be tempted to comply? It's a big industry. Whether it is, let's face it, whether it is Meta, whether it is Google, they are feeding off that industry, which is pretty primal to human needs, if I may say so. They are feeding into that. Putting it on social media is a different story, but it is a very, very big industry with a lot of money put into it.
Right. Right, so of course a lot of money going into it, and of course the fact that the industry per se is a large industry and catering, like you just heard from Amit, catering to the very basic needs of human beings. Well, with that we will pretty much come to an end of this edition of the AI Report, and thank you so much for watching. I will also take the opportunity to thank my friend, colleague and obviously the executive editor of the show, Ranjan, for being here with us today.